It's being reported the Chancellor will promise to provide 30 hours of childcare a week to parents of 1 and 2-year-olds as he announces his budget tomorrow. Families with children aged 1 and 2 do not currently receive support to cover the period after parental leave ends and before free nursery hours are offered for 3 and 4-year-olds. Alice McCullagh is the director of a nursery group in the northeast of England, the Rose Dean Nursery Group. It's got 10 nurseries across North Yorkshire and the northeast. Now, she's just given her reaction to this news to Rachel Gerrish on LBC News.
So I think it might just help if I set the scene and just explain a couple of challenges that we as providers are facing. And the first is that the government provides what they call free childcare provision. But for us, the funding is just not sufficient to cover the costs of the childcare. So consequently, we've been struggling we've seen a huge challenge across the sector with nurseries closing because the funding that's been provided is just not sufficient. So hopefully the news that we get tomorrow is that with the extension of free childcare for 1 and 2-year-olds, this is absolutely fantastic. It means that we'll be able to get more childcare places on offer. But what is absolutely crucial is that with this, the Chancellor also will increase the funding per hour for that childcare provision. Otherwise, childcare providers just won't be able to support the government with these additional childcare places.
And of course, that's then going to stop thousands of people getting back into the workforce. So what kind of figure would you be hoping to hear from the Chancellor?
So I've read that we've got a 4 billion commitment. However, it is going to be very interesting as to how this is going to be divided. At the moment, the costs, are going to be very different across different age groups and different councils spend the money in different ways. For us, it's really about the cost per hour and that being increased. Unfortunately, this year it was committed to increase 1%, and that's against a minimum wage increase of 9.6%. So the costs just don't add up for us in the childcare business model.
And then, of course, you've got the cost of living crisis to face as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's we've seen this year on year where, it's been claimed that childcare costs have gone up 44% since 2010, but actually, national statistics are saying that minimum wage has gone up 66%. So, for us, it's a real challenge. And, it also means that private nursery costs are having to be increased to plug this gap, which actually makes childcare less accessible for working families.
So what do you think this is actually going to mean for families? I mean, what kind of direct impact will it have on them if it's announced tomorrow that indeed you will get maybe the funding that you want to see from the Chancellor, and it will be extended to 1 and 2-year-olds?
So if we can get both of those things together, it's a huge support. We will really feel as early as providers, that the government has listened to the sector. It will give us that real boost. The last few years since COVID have been a real challenge. We've got fantastic teams on the ground, who are working because they absolutely love, supporting children. And at Rosie, we fundamentally believe that the early years is the most critical part of child development. And by providing 1 to 2-year-old funding, it gives that childcare at such a young age when children are most receptive to learning. So, it would be excellent news, and a real win for the sector.
But given the backdrop of all the strikes that we're seeing, lots of people calling for more pay, how hopeful are you that you will actually get those conditions that you need?
Well, one can only hope, but we are planning obviously to increase all of our staff wages in April, and we're relying on this funding increase, to ensure that our business can be sustainable. And, the numbers have been really difficult over the past few years, and hopefully the cry has been heard, and the government are really going to be supportive of us and realise how important the early years is for the future of the society.
Alice McCullagh there, director of a nursery group in the northeast of England, speaking to Rachel Gerrish. We'll stay with us.